I've helped generate around $60 million in online information sales. And today I'm going to go over the breakdown of the exact framework I use, the hiring process I use to slowly build that team over 2 years, which directly contributed to generating over $50 million. I think it's like 58 or so of cash that we did when I was with him. And this is all public information as to Iman's size, by the way. I wouldn't be saying these numbers except for the fact that he publicly declares now that he's done around $100 million in online sales. I was with him for a good portion of that. Aside from this, I also want to make it known that I by no means am taking credit for the work that Iman has done or the success that he has seen. Like I said in the title, and I'm very careful in titling this, these are learning lessons that I have found after taking the ride with him for many years. So this isn't theory or something that I read in a book. This is something that I've actually done multiple times now, having worked with Iman, having worked with other multiple 8-figure companies, installing this into companies that are doing $2 million a month, installing this into multiple 7-figure clients that we have. And I've refined the process through hundreds of hiring cycles, thousands, it's probably tens of thousands of applications and millions of dollars in payroll. By the end of the video, I want you to have a complete blueprint on how to hire a world-class team that can help you execute your vision with excellence. I think there is a key word here being vision, which is that if you don't have a mission and vision that attracts A players, it doesn't matter how good the technicals here are, you don't have the foundation to actually hire A players. So in short, today we're going to go over 5 pieces to the hiring system. Number 1 is opportunity volume. In short, your lead gen for hiring. Number 2 is your vetting, your lead quality. Number 3 is the group interview. Number 4 is the one-on-one interview. Number 5 is the hiring interview, which is really more of an onboarding to make sure you actually have really long-lasting relationships with everyone that you hire. So part 1, volume. The quality of talent you attract is directly proportional to how large your company will grow. This isn't correlation, it's causation. In business, we have a thesis, which is that you have to be able to generate attention. Generate eyeballs is what we say, liquidate eyeballs and engage eyeballs. In that same theory, you have to do everything with your hiring process. You have to be able to generate attention from A players. You want to be able to bring them in the team, liquidate, and then you want to engage them once they're on the team to make sure they stay around for life. So this is the most foundational element most entrepreneurs miss. I think, if anything, that's an understatement. Everyone obsesses over client acquisition, but 8-figure businesses are equally obsessed with talent acquisition. I've observed this pattern across hundreds of companies that I've worked with. It's actually an understatement. So it's probably over 3,000 companies that I've helped over the last couple of years. Most entrepreneurs spend 90% of their marketing efforts on attracting clients and 10%, if any, on attracting talent. With 8-figure businesses, that ratio shifts to around 60-40. And if you look at any major player in the space, Hormozi, Gadzhi, Dan Martell, etc., they all have talented people lining up to work with them. They've built systems specifically designed to create opportunity volume for hiring. Hormozi talks about, since Jim launched, how he had as much attention going into his hiring funnels as he did his lead gen funnels. So I'm doing the exact same thing with my company at Daily 7. We've never posted a job listing, not once. We don't use recruiting agencies. I hate recruiting agencies. We've never actually posted in a Facebook group or on a job board. Every single team member that we have has come through my personal brand ecosystem, meaning they've consumed content, they've resonated with the mission that we have as a company, and they wanted to be a part of building something more significant than they could on their own. They were pre-sold on our vision before we ever met them. I've received dozens of videos of people in tears crying at how much they resonate with the mission that we have at Daily Capital. And because of that, they want to be a part of it. They want to work in this ecosystem that we have because it's doing something that they deem is bigger than they could do on their own. So they want to be a part of it. Solomon understood this principle thousands of years ago. A good name is more desirable than great riches. To be esteemed is better than silver or gold. And Solomon obviously didn't intend for that proverb to be focused around hiring for companies. It's supposed to show that with a righteous name of someone who's pursuing the Lord, someone's name that has no tarnish is obviously more valuable than money. And you can even get into Warren Buffett's line about a good reputation taking 20 years to build, but 20 seconds to ruin. In this example, we're going to say that a good reputation, a good name, a good brand is more valuable for hiring than it even is for the lead gen side. Because when you have a strong brand that people trust, that's driving toward a mission to better humanity, then you'll be able to attract so many talented people. And when you put talented people in a small room together, in this case, a small Zoom room, what you're going to be able to do with that team is immensely powerful. There's a story that pretty much every strong team has, which is that it doesn't matter what they're building. As long as they're together, they're always going to be able to build things that change the world. And if that's what you're looking for, then you have to understand that a personal brand isn't about vanity. It's a strategic asset that creates opportunity volume for hiring alongside lead gen. It's the foundation of a sustainable talent pipeline. The second place to look outside of brand is your existing client base. Your happiest clients are often the ones that have seen your product in use. They understand your mission and they've experienced the transformation you can take clients through. And these individuals often make exceptional team members because they're already aligned with your company's values and approach. And I want to make this clear, guys. I have coached dozens of 8-figure companies. I've been on the leadership teams for companies doing $50 million a year. You can run the recruiting agency model. You can run ads to get applicants in. Nothing is as effective when it comes to building strong company culture as having a public brand driving towards something that people can buy into before they start working with you. The reason I don't like recruiting agencies and the reason I don't like recruitment ads is because they simply bring in people who are looking for a job, looking for a paycheck. I don't quote Andrew Tate often, but there's a line that he said that I think I resonate with heavily, which is that most companies are built with mercenaries, meaning people who are looking for a paycheck. You can't trust them. They're not loyal to the mission. The second they get an offer to make more money, they're going to take it. We want to build build a company of soldiers, people who are well committed to the mission that we're driving toward. And the way that you do that is by working with people that have seen your mission in action, meaning clients that have gone through your process, or people who have bought into your mission through personal brand. Doesn't matter if that brand is on short form content, LinkedIn, YouTube, etc. I'm not trying to sell you guys on a personal brand. I'm just telling you the companies that I've seen, the companies that have helped, the way I'm doing it has always been, if you want to build a company with strong culture, it's almost always driven by personal brand. Part 2 is vetting. And the larger your brand gets, the more important this is. There have been companies I've worked with where a post for any kind of hiring process will get 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 applications. And if that's the case, you simply can't go through all of that and give each one the attention needed in a short amount of time. So you have to find ways to vet extremely effectively. This system, optimized after years and years of hiring and thousands of applications, trims out about 80% of applicants before you even see their application, before you ever have a conversation. Think of it as your first line of defense against mediocrity. Here's the exact process, and I'm going to probably deviate from the doc at points to kind of break this down a little further. But in short, number 1 is that you have to have, kind of like you would have a master VSL for lead gen, you have to have a master hiring video. So it's a 10 to 15 minute video that every single application, it doesn't matter what department they're in, sees. And that video goes over the company mission, the company vision, core values, operational values, etc., to make sure that people who are applying understand the company they're applying for. And part of this, like a VSL, is that if someone doesn't resonate with the mission or the values that you have, you don't want them applying in the first place. The other side is that we actually use it for a trip test. Aside from this isn't here, but aside from the master hiring video, you also want to have a secondary hiring video for every single role that goes over the op values for that specific role, the comp structure, any role specifics, not just a landing page that explains what that role has. You really want to lean on the medium of which people have followed your personal brand. And so if you are a video heavy person, then your hiring process should be video heavy. If your brand is heavy on blogs, then your hiring process should also probably be heavy on blogs. Number 2 is after you've created the hiring video and the secondary hiring video for the role, a comprehensive application containing questions directly answered in the video. These weren't trick questions, they were explicitly addressed in the presentation. So I can't stress this enough. There are going to be people who message you saying that they are dying to work with you. They would do anything to work with you. And then you send them a hiring page. The hiring page has this video. It's a 10 to 15 minute video. It's the master hiring video, and they don't go through it. And you can know that they don't go through it because they won't answer questions that were directly answered in the video. The best way to do this, by the way, is to give all the expectations up front. In the beginning of the hiring video, tell them it is important for them to understand the mission and the core values that you have, because it will be a part of the interviewing process later. And then right after, when they click the apply now button and they get sent to a type form, that type form will have a multi-select question which has your core values. I'm a big recommender of 3 core values. I think any more than 3 is too much. I think any less than 3 is not enough. I think 3 is a really good spot. And what you want to have are core values that all sound really good, and some of them even sound really close to the actual core value, but your core values should be pretty specific. For example, our core values at Daily 7 are be the light of the world, be the salt of the world, better every day. Worded exactly like that. And then each, of course, has a massive breakdown. In that, when we ask on our hiring process, what are our core values? I think we have 12 options. 3 are be the salt of the world, be the light of the world, better every day. The others are close to that, but not exactly that, or just completely different, but they sound great. Example given, one of our better everyday options is instead of better every day, which is right there, we have personal development is a non-negotiable. Sounds very good. We also have, instead of be the salt of the world, stay salty. They're close enough to where if you didn't specifically see in the video, if you didn't watch the video, you will likely get them wrong. And if you click 4 instead of 3, because we don't say in the question that what are the 3 core values, if you click 4, or if you select 2 good ones and 1 bad one, whatever it is, if it's at all wrong, we'll ask you another 2 questions so you don't think your application was dequeued, but you're not actually going to even get sent the next step of the hiring process. You'll just get a DQ email 2 days later. So before we even put any work in, we're already taking out the people who aren't willing to commit 10 minutes of their time to actually making sure that they are a good fit for this company. Very powerful stuff. Now, if they do go through the entire process, and there are more nitty and gritty things that I take a lot of my clients through, for example, the way we structure the hiring emails to have trip sensors in them, the way we even have a character count on some of the responses. If you ask, for example, why the vision and mission of your company resonates with them, and the character count is low, at this point we actually have AI determine that. If the character count is low and they showed really no intent on filling out the application well, then we'll DQ those. If you can't take your application seriously, you're probably not going to take the hiring process or the job seriously. We don't want to see it. After all of that, if they do get through everything, which is 20% of the applications that come in, then we send out an email that has trip sensors in it with a request. This is a typo on the doc, with a request for a 60 to 120 second video going over 3 main questions. If the video, it's not 61 seconds. If the video is 121 seconds or 59 seconds, meaning a second too short or a second too long, it's not looked at. This is a hard non-negotiable. What you're looking for here is attention to detail. Guys, I can't stress this enough. I've gone around this rule 1,000 times. I've been wrong every single time. If someone's video For some reason you watch it, it's a 122-second video, and it's amazing, but they didn't see the instructions for 60 to 120, and they sent in a 122-second video, 2 minutes and 2 seconds. If they sent that in, you will be amazed if you bring them on and hire them at how every single thing they do on the job shows that same disregard for attention to detail. The devil is truly in the details when you're hiring. So in every process that I run, the video interview has trip questions, whether it's a certain color shirt that they have to wear, how it's titled, something that they might have to show me during the video. I want to make sure that there's at least 7 to 10 details that they have to hit in just this video interview to make sure, again, that they have attention to detail. If they don't, I promise you there's nothing more aggravating than bringing people on that have no attention to detail, because then you're constantly having to overcheck their work because of their disregard to details. At my previous company, candidates had to identify our 3 core values from the list of 20. These were explicitly stated in the video. 80% failed the test. They didn't watch the video completely. The Loom video requirement tested multiple critical factors simultaneously. Number 1 is just technical competence. No one really has an issue with that anymore. Number 2 is communication skills. Big reason for the video interview is you're going to be able to see someone's communication skills before you take the time to talk to them. Number 3, their ability to follow precise instructions. Number 4, time management. Can they deliver within time constraints? I think with our current process, a video has to be submitted within 24 hours or by a certain time and certain day. Presentation skills. Can they create a compelling message that stands out? Number 6, by the way, is really the priority that I look at after I see number 1, do they have attention to detail? Number 2, are they someone who can communicate clearly enough for the role that I'm hiring? Then I look at 6, which is preparation. This is where I see the difference between C players and A players. Meaning, a C player, let's say one of the video interview requirements is that they have to wear a white shirt. You'll be amazed at how few people actually prepare for this video. Preparation meaning, let's look at an A player. An A player will have a crisp white shirt. They'll know what they're going to say. They oftentimes create things like visual assets for you to look at during the video. They will make sure they have good lighting. They'll make sure they have good sound. They'll make sure they set, and it's not that they're spending money for this. It could be that they have their phone docked on a tripod. They're in a quiet spot. They pressed their shirt. They have some kind of ring light or natural light on their face, versus a lot of people, the ones who don't prepare, they're just picking up their phone. They put on a white shirt that's wrinkly. I'm not kidding. I can't tell you how many wrinkly shirts I've seen and thought to myself, how are you gonna make me think that you're prepared and you're sharp when you can barely even dress yourself appropriately? But a wrinkly white stained shirt with no light on their face, terrible audio as if they're covering their phone mic because they're holding their phone on a selfie video. Some people will not prepare at all. And you have to think, if I brought this person on and they can't even prepare for the interview, why would I expect them to prepare to do a good job when they actually have the job? My personal order for importance on this is number 1, attention to detail. Number 2, comm skills. And then number 3 is preparation. Part 3, after the video interview. So once you find the lot of people that you like, the process for this is that you can send them an email after they've seen the video. If they pass the quiz with the character count and such, then you can send them an email. The email can have a monday.com link in it. Monday.com has forms. They can submit a monday.com form. Everything gets imported, and you can do it with different software, of course. It gets imported into a dashboard, and then you can just essentially 4 or 5, 3s, 2-star, etc. Everyone you like. Anyone who has 4 or 5 stars, you go through, you send them the next part of the process, which is a group interview. The group interview, again, has attention to detail trippers in there. So instead of wearing a white shirt, they wear a black shirt now, vice versa. There are things that they might have to bring. I always try to make sure that there's a research element involved, meaning find someone else that works at the company and give me some kind of memo on who they are as such, so that I can tell people aren't doing the bare minimum of researching the company, like watching a video we showed them. I want to see people really researching the company before they hop on this. I can't stress this enough. It's really the off interview parts of the process that I care about more than the actual on interview parts, because that's going to be what I see when I hire them. Do they prepare? Are they attentive to details? I'm going to try to find out as much about that as possible during the non-interview part, between the lines. After the video interview, we invite qualified applicants to a group call, typically between 30 to 50 participants at once. It really depends on how many applicants you get. The smallest I'd probably run this at is 15. This isn't standard practice in most industries, but it's extraordinarily effective. This is something that I installed when I first started working with Iman, and we did it for the next years. They might still do it. Every single 8-figure company I've worked with has since taken this on, and they love it. And so I want to give this to you, and I hope you enjoy this as much as we have. The way that I run the group interviews is that I'll have 2 or 3 senior members hop on with me. We make a Slack channel specifically for this, and then what we do is we go through and ask every single person on the interview pressing questions. And this isn't a friendly casual chat. This is laser focused questions, and I'm creating purposely pressure-filled scenarios to see how candidates perform under constraints. My team would joke that interview Paul was a different person completely than normal Paul. To this day, I still run group interviews, and I'll still do what I started years ago, which is setting expectation at the beginning of the group interview that when I do these calls, I have to put on my dick hat and I have to change persona a little bit to create pressure intense areas. Because realistically, you see who people are under pressure and you see how they either thrive or buckle. And again, for the workplace is really important. If you're really trying to run a business, there are going to be tons of pressure filled scenarios where people have to make decisions that have pressure, where they're client facing in a pressure filled scenario scenario, or they're on a sales call where there's a ton of tension and they have to be okay under that pressure. The group interviews have to simulate that. And I remember that at my last company, they would call my group interviews the Hunger Games. It was like a badge of honor that everyone who had gone through them and got hired wore. They had gone through the Hunger Games. On the back end of it, it was something that people were really proud of, that the fact that they got through it. On the front end, people would go through 2 or 3 times sometimes, applying for the same role over and over, and they would come sweating for the call. It was a pressure-filled scenario where I'd ask challenging questions and sometimes deliberately interrupt candidates to see how they responded. We'd create time pressure by giving complex questions, and I would say they have 30 seconds to respond, and I would actually set a timer on my phone for 30 seconds. And sometimes I would even ask simple questions like, tell me who you are, where in the world you are, what you do for work currently, and why you want to work at X company. And people might just go on a tangent on where in the world they are, and then 30 seconds comes up, they didn't answer 2 of the questions they were supposed to answer, and I would cut them off and I would say next person. I wanted people to recognize that we ran a tight ship unlike any other. Just the hiring process on its own attracts A players who see that anyone doing this is a different type of organization than anyone else that they've applied for. Most companies, the hiring process is like, hey, let's hop on a call. Oh, you're cool. Great, let's do this. A genuine A player hiring process makes A players want to work with that company because they see that the way that the company even hires is different than every other company. And they want to be a part of something that's different and better. The group format also reveals qualities that the one-on-one format that most people run does not, which is actually the reason we started doing these in the first place many years ago. I guess there's context, which is that a group interview should always aim to have 3 to 5 people come out on the other end for one-on-ones, which is the next stage of the process. But the reason we want to do one group interview, aside from 45, 50, 15-minute one-on-one interviews, aside from number 1, time allocation, is you see things on a group interview that you wouldn't see on a one-on-one. Example given, when you have 50 people on a call, you just can see the talent instantaneously compared to itself. So you see who gravitates attention, who doesn't, who's well postured, who's not well postured. You get to see if people who are not being asked questions are slacking off, and if they're already doing something else. They don't have the full bandwidth to sit on an interview distraction free for 60 minutes. I don't want them on my team. So you could see right out of the gates who stands out, and you can compare everyone on one call versus thinking about one person on a 15-minute call and another person 3 hours later on another 15-minute call. You can see it in present time right there. Number 2 is you see who has genuine presence and confidence, and you can also see who overdoes it. There are so many people who are going to try to stand out, but they do it in the wrong way, and you can see that they're doing it from an ego-filled perspective rather than a humble yet charismatic perspective. Who can communicate concisely under pressure, who remains authentic while being evaluated, who melts under minimal pressure, who respects others while advancing themselves. Guys, the other thing too about group interviews is you can structure questions. And I'm not going to give a lot of my group interview questions here because, to be honest with you, I think that's one of the things that I have for IP that I'll use with my D7 and DA clients. But there's questions that you can use to not put people against each other, but see if people will down others to lift themselves up. And if that's the case, I don't want that kind of person on my team. I want someone who brings someone else up and brings them up with them, because those are people that make really good team players. And so you can do all of this on a group interview. You can't do it on a one-on-one, but there is still reason to have one-on-one, which is part 4. This freaking bird. You can keep some of this in if you want to. Part 4 is the one-on-one interview. So let's just zoom out for a second and say that you create a brand, you put out stories in YouTube community posts or LinkedIn posts or whatever. Let's say you get 1,000 applications for your role, just for even numbers. 80% of them are going to get DQ'd on the application. So now you have 200 applications come in. You send out an email for video interviews, and half the people get DQ'd for attention to detail. They didn't post the link to YouTube as an unlisted. They didn't wear the right color shirt. Their video was a second too long or a second too short, whatever be it. You're going to have about a half hit rate on that. So now we went from 1,000 to 200, 200 to 100, and you now can run 2 group interviews at 50 apiece. You're really going to only have like 40 something people hop into each, because you're always going to have people who have calendar issues, etc. And so you have these group interviews, you get them to 3 or 5 one-on-ones coming from each one. Let's just use 4 as an average, meaning you take 100 people through group interviews, you have 8 one-on-ones, and you can structure these one-on-ones to be 45, 60 minutes. Depending on the role, it might even be a 90-minute call. A lot of them are going to hover around 45 to 60 minutes. But you've taken 2,000 applications and brought it down to 8 45, 60-minute calls on a larger hiring process. And even though I don't want to double the overhead spent of someone spending a whole day doing interviews, I'm going to. And these interviews are done by the department head that is hiring for that role. There's a couple key concepts here that I actually forgot to write down, which is that number 1, we blind run the group interview to the one-on-one interview, meaning whoever is doing the one-on-one interview will never be a part of the group interview. And the reason for it is I don't want bias going in from the group interview to the one-on-one. So the one-on-one interview, might see, and I still play with this, the video interview, but for the most part, I want them to have no background on how this person did on the group interview, what they did well, what they didn't do well. I want them to compare the one-on-one applications, the one-on-one interviews, fairly without any prejudgment. And even with that, I believe if it's worth doing once, it's worth doing twice. We don't just have them run the one-on-one interview, but we also have them send it to someone else in the company who's never seen these people, and we have them watch the recording of the one-on-one interview in 2x. I used to have them on the call, so there were 2 interviewers on the call, but I feel like that's just burning time and burning overhead. So what we do now is we do one-on-one interview. Interviewer is blind from the prior part of the process. After that interview, no notes shared. They send that interview to someone else on the team in leadership who can then look at that interview and give a third-party perspective on whether or not they thought the interview might be biased. And this is important because people will have biasy no matter what. You'll have similarity biasy, which is someone has the same traits, characteristics, appearance as you. You might have someone biased because the person they're hiring is attractive, and so they naturally like that person more. If you're hiring internationally, again, similarity bias, maybe they're in the same country or such. There's always going to be biases that people have. And so the more people that see that interview, the less that biasy can make a final decision. So one-on-one interview held blind, then vetted again by someone else. 45 to 90 minutes on average, depending on what kind of role it is. And what I really evaluate on the one-on-one is number 1, cultural alignment, meaning does this person naturally embody the core values of the company, or are they changing who they are to try to embody them? I don't personally believe that core values are values that should be held after someone's hired. I believe that core values are values that people should already possess before they join a company, and those core values can act as a hiring lens. A lot of companies will say these are our core values, fit them, change yourself to them. And I don't think at that point that they really are core values. I think that they are company values of how you operate, operational values, which are not core values. Team chemistry is the second point. Will they complement our existing dynamics? Meaning, will they fit in nicely, or will they change our company dynamics in a way that is beneficial that I think the company needs? Number 3, technical capabilities. Can they execute the specific responsibilities of the role? This is either the least or most important part of the one-on-one based on what kind of role I'm hiring for. So if I'm looking for what's called a hard skill instead of a soft skill, technical capability is going to be very, very pressing on the list of importance of things I'm going to go over. Versus if I'm looking for a soft skill, something that can be learned more easily, like sales, customer success, etc., technical capability will actually be less important on the list of things that I'm looking for, and culture is more important. Last thing, long-term potential. Do they have the capacity to grow beyond the initial position? I don't want to bring people on that can only work with me on that one layer, because they oftentimes will churn. And to be honest with you, it just leads to a more boring company. We're looking for people who don't just want a job. They want to be a part of building something that's meaningful. Someone who sees their work as a calling rather than a paycheck. Like I said earlier, referring to Andrew Tate, the soldiers versus mercenaries analogy. Notes that I have found important for this are that we reverse the normal interviewing process where it's us asking questions, them asking questions after, to they ask us questions first and we ask them questions after. And the reason for it is it normally trips people up. They don't expect to be asking questions first. And so whatever kind of game plan they have about that interview is now flipped on its head. Number 2 is sometimes we'll say, what questions do you have? They won't have any questions, and we're thinking to ourselves, like, why would we continue on asking them questions to see if they're a good fit if they didn't come prepared with questions that show that they really do want to understand more about the role so that they can succeed in it. People who don't have questions about the role, about the expectations of the role, you're never going to lay out the expectations of a role or the job duties or responsibilities so clearly that applicants aren't going to have questions on how to succeed in the role. There should always be questions. If people don't have questions, I actually don't even care to further out the interview, which is why we do it first. Number 2 is that we also don't want our questions to be boring or routine. So we oftentimes will ask very unique questions that no other interview process will have. A couple examples you can look up is that BlackRock, they don't ask this anymore because it became kind of infamous, had a question about 100 murderers and probability of death and such, and how would you approach a certain situation about keeping 100 murderers in a I think it was a prison yard. Google used to ask people how many golf balls could fit into a school bus and how to describe a database to a 5-year-old. And the reason Google asks those questions, by the way, I think this is so cool, is number 1, the golf balls question is to see how you would think about solving that problem. The way you solve a problem in business is arguably much more important than the actual answer to the problem. There's always a ton of different answers. The mechanics of how you solve a problem and get to an answer is what's going to be important throughout your journey in business. The second question about databases is kind of Einstein's theory here. If you can't describe something to a 7-year-old, they say 5-year-old, then you don't really understand it. So how well do people understand databases Meaning, could they describe it so simply that a 5-year-old could say it? It's kind of like the basis of copywriting. Elon Musk infamous asks whatever problem you're most proud of solving. Then he asks, how did you solve it step by step? And I think this is so cool because the same thing, he's looking, number one, to actually verify if you did solve the problem that you're saying you solved. But number two is he's asking the mechanics that you used to dissect how to solve that problem, which again is what the smartest of the smart people are looking for. Part 5 is the hiring interview. This is where most businesses fail miserably in the hiring process. It's the actual extension of the offer. And after creating a rigorous selection process, most people completely just drop the baton at the finish line. Never, ever, this is in bold, extend an offer via text or email. This is a non-negotiable. I've had team members do this before, and I, for lack of a better term, ripped them apart, because I personally feel like a good relationship, especially in business, is built with sharing wins, sharing time in the trenches, going through the ups and the downs together. One of the biggest ups that you're gonna ever have, I still remember to this day when Iman gave me the job offer to start working with him in, I think it was November or December of 2020. And I remember giving hundreds of people now offers to work with us and the joy that they felt. And I remember trying to enjoy that moment with them. And I think that was always something that we could build upon. And so I think personally that if you send a text or an offer email to someone, you are genuinely from the very get-go ruining one of the first moments you're supposed to share together in your business relationship. So after candidates have invested themselves in the demanding process, telling them they're hired through a casual message completely undermines the achievement. It signals that you don't truly value what they've accomplished by making it through your selection process versus actually getting on the call with them, shows them out of the gate, you are now someone who really holds value to me, and I'm showing that by giving you the time to actually have this conversation with you, and then we're also going to build this memory together for the rest of our business journey. So we conducted formal, dedicated hiring calls that followed a specific structure, which is number one, celebrating the accomplishment with genuine enthusiasm. And I don't know how to word it. It was genuine enthusiasm. It was excitement to get to work with them and excitement at the fact that they got through it. Number two is reinforcing that they earned their position through merit. This is something that I didn't talk about in this doc, but it was something that I thought about as soon as I sat down. If you think about the military or even the police force, people in the military are bought in to the service that they were, and they will dog all the other services. They're bought into their service. Police officers are bought into the badge that they wear, and it's because it doesn't come easily. If you're going to join the military, you have to go through basic. You have to go through a ton of training. On the other end of that training, you have now earned the uniform that you wear. That's one of the reasons false valor is taken so seriously. It wasn't earned. Same thing with the badge. Police officers, it's known as paramilitary organizations, police officers go through 6 months of excruciatingly difficult training, being pepper sprayed, tased, PT, learning the law. They earn the badge, and so they are bought into that badge. If people don't have to earn a position to work with you, they'll be willing to leave on the flip of a dime. And just like in the military or the police department, you wouldn't go through the entire 6 months of training to become a police officer and have them mail you a badge. You have a ceremony to get your badge, to show that the achievement you've done is something worth noting, and they're showing you the value that you now hold. It's what the call does here too. So you're reinforcing that they earned their position through merit, not luck. Then you set clear expectations about the role, responsibilities, and growth path. The other thing about the expectations too is that you also reset the process by showing them that they got through it, but also telling them that now the work gets even harder, because the first week's what I call the probationary period, and then even a part of that being hell week, is where the work gets incredibly brutal, and I want to see what they're made of. I want to put an immense amount of work on their plate in the very first 7 days, and then the first 90 days a heavy workload to see if they can handle it, see what they're capable of. And I tell them it's called Hell Week. It's the probationary. So I'm telling them congratulations, kind of like they're joining the Prem League. And now after they've joined the Premier League, the work is getting serious now. After that, we welcome them in, we answer any questions, and we express excitement, sincere excitement about working together. And this wasn't a formality. It was a pivotal moment in establishing the relationship. The results speak for themselves. In my time at Iman's company, fewer than 5 people voluntarily left out of hundreds of people that we hired. That retention rate is almost unheard of in this industry, and it's because I think we did such a good job. Number one, credit to Iman, but we did such a good job of building company culture, and I think a lot of the company culture came from how we hired in the first place to make sure that we hired the right people that would fit in the culture that we were developing. And when done properly after the hiring, this is more onboarding. You can send out personal packages. I still, when I started working with Iman, I think 2 weeks later, I got an entire kit. This is back when Gadzhi had clothing. I got an entire kit of every piece of clothing that Gadzhi had. Now, ironically, when I hire people in my company, one of the first things they ask for is a pair of Gadzhis, because they know that Iman gifted me 27 pairs of Gadzhis, and now they're like, yo, can you give me a pair too? So for some reason, Gadzhis are becoming a part of our company attire and welcome gifts. So the conclusion to all this is that, number one, this is the process that allows you to find the best applications with the least amount of time involved, because it's going to weed out 95% of the bad fits so that you can focus on the 5% rather than diluting focus on the 95%. Number two is it scientifically identifies 2A players who thrive under clear expectations and pressure. And number three, I think, is one of the most important parts. It builds loyalty through a process that feels meaningful and selective. And when you invest this level of intentionality in your hiring process, you're not just filling seats or headcount, you're building a team that can help execute the vision that you have with precision. To end this video, I'm gonna give you guys a quick CTA. I'm not gonna go through all this in short. I said earlier in the video that every business has three things they need to do: generate eyeballs, liquidate eyeballs, engage eyeballs. It's the same thing that you do when you hire: generate attention to hire, liquidate that attention into applications, turn it into applicants that you can one-on-one, then engage them with the proper onboarding process and engage them throughout the entire time that you work with them, how you give them pay bumps, how you pour into them, how you really get them to buy into the mission. It's the same thing on the front end with client acquisition: generating attention, liquidating attention in the leads, engaging clients, getting sales, keeping those clients around for a long, long time. That is what we focus on in our incubator. Our incubator Daily 7 is not a coaching program. There's no coaching material inside of it. What we do is we actively work one-on-one with every single company every single week on what they're doing that week, reviewing what they did that week, answering any questions to get the most pivotal work done. We know every single one of our clients like the back of our hand. We don't have any CSMs. It's myself and my COO, and we pour in every single company as if we were the fractional COO and CEOs of the company. So if you guys want my personal help to help you with any of the hiring stuff you saw here, or the front end stuff, how to do all of this with lead gen, which is the exact same thing, but also completely different, then feel free to go down below, daily7.com. We'd love to see you there. Until next time, happy hunting.